What's going on, you guys? Welcome to Liberate Your Money, episode 42. It is November 8th. It's a Monday. We just made another all-time high, so I figured I'd do another video. Last video, we were sitting right around 62K. We had just made a new high, and we had that ETF approval and open, which sent us into a new all-time high. Then we got shut back down, and then we've been chopping below all-time high price for 2 weeks now. Let's see how many days. So yeah, 1 week, 2 week, 3 weeks. We just started the 4th week and we're breaking out, it looks like. So yeah, I wanted to do a video because last video we were right here. We were talking about how price could potentially make its way back to this trend line right here, and it never did, which tells me that we are actually more bullish than I thought. I thought maybe we would get some consolidation below all-time highs back to this trend line, and we didn't get that. What we did was we got just a flagging pattern is what I would call it. You know, you could just draw a straight flag, and we broke out, and now we're sitting right above all-time high in price discovery. Looks like we're kind of testing as support. But yeah, I mean, we predicted this. I've been saying it this whole time. You got to decide for yourself if you think this is a double top. But none of these metrics that we've been looking at have been telling us that this is a toppy pattern. You know, there's not whales cashing out. There's more wallets than ever that are holding more Bitcoin than they ever have before. We're not seeing exchanges, we're not seeing people sending their crypto to exchanges so that they can sell it. I mean, exchanges don't have as much crypto. There isn't crypto sitting on exchanges like you would normally see when people are trying to sell, is what I'm trying to say. I wanted to look into Bitcoin.com because I think this is, like, you know, if you're not big into charts and tools and stuff, I think that this, instead of like going to TradingView and trying to collect your own data, these charts that they create for you are super easy to read, and I'm going to go over a few of them that I think will help us tell when it's getting toppy or time to maybe start de-risking our bags, because that's the next step in the cycle. Like I said in the last one, I think we're in that 4th quarter. I think we're probably in the middle of that 4th quarter. You know, I hear a lot of people say that they think this bull run's going to go into, you know, middle to deep 2022. I'm personally not in that camp. I think it's probably going to end, you know, Q1 sometime. I think once that traditional markets start tapering, you know, I don't know. I'm assuming that it's going to be some sort of event, liquidity event. You know, this is just a guess, because of how volatile markets have gotten. We see big liquidity events every few years, it seems like now, and I have the feeling that we're probably due for one in the next couple years, a year or two, and which will probably lead us into that next bear market before the next halving in 2024. So these are the tools that I use or am currently going to use to identify when is the right time to unload my Bitcoin and my alts. I'm not going to be unloading a lot of my Bitcoin. I'm actually going to be keeping most of it for cold storage to keep for the long term. But most of my alts I'm going to be selling. I'm going to keep some of my strong alts like Solana and a couple others, but most of them are going to be moonbags. So I'm going to be selling 90% plus of all my stuff because I've been here. I've seen how these cycles work. I see that price is ahead of the mean. We're actually currently sitting right around the mean, but I mean, price gets overextended big time in these bull runs, and then when you get these heavy overextensions, it inevitably has to come back down and find that floor again, which it does in these bear markets. I think we're going to have another one of them. I am not in the super cycle camp. I mean, Bitcoin itself is a super cycle. It continually makes lower or higher lows. Even though it has 2-year bear markets every cycle, it still makes a higher low, right? Like, you know, it was consolidating around $1,000 the previous cycle, then it was consolidating around $6,000 the previous cycle, and then now who knows where it's going to be consolidating at, probably around the prices we're at now. I'm assuming we're probably going to spike up to that 100K to 250K, and then we're going to have a bear market that's going to see us take a drop, consolidate down to like 60K, 50K, and then we'll find that floor again. Hopefully it'll probably be around that 200-week moving average, which is what this map shows. See, this is the map that you pull out when we're in the bear market, because whenever price gets down to this 200-week moving average line, it always bounces, and it's always been like that for the life of this asset. So that is the number one buying indicator, is the 200 weekly moving average. That's what this chart shows us. Doesn't do us much good in the bull market, but it's a tool to look at in bear markets. I think the 2-year moving average multiplier is probably the easiest way to tell when to buy and sell for long-term holds, right? The green line, if price gets below it, that's a great time to buy. When the price is above the red line, that's a great time to sell. If we look at previous cycles, whenever price got overextended above the red line, if you sold, it was a great trade. Whenever price got below the green, it was a great trade. So if we wait until price, right now it's saying that top is somewhere around 125K Bitcoin. So we're right in the middle right now. We're right smack dab in the middle of the green and the red line. So that tells me that we've got a lot of room for growth. I mean, we could at least double from here comfortably without hitting that 2-year moving average. So I'll be using that as a tool. The Puel multiple has to do with coin issuance. Honestly, you don't even need to know necessarily what these mean. If you just look at the correlations on the chart from the previous all-time highs, you can see that these red line, whenever it spikes into above this red box here, is usually when we found a local top or the ultimate top. See, it spiked up here, we had a local top, corrected, it spiked back into the red, boom, we topped. Had a 2-year bear market, and this never got back up to the red. Then we had all the way up to the 2017 bull cycle, boom, got up to the red, whoops. Got up to the red, would have been a great time to sell. Right now, it's sitting right in the middle. We're not in the green. When it got down to 30K, it dipped into the green, which would have been a great indicator for a buy signal. It was a great buy. I wish I would have used this tool when we were around 30K, because it was looking scary. So yeah, we're in the Puel multiple. We're right in the middle. We have plenty of room for growth. If we look at the golden ratio multiplier, basically it's just got a bunch of moving averages, and as you can see, there's 4 moving averages here: orange, green, red, and purple. We are in between. We're right below the green, so we're actually below halfway according to the moving averages. Whenever it's gotten above the purple, it has been a good time to sell. Right now the purple on this is again right around that 125,000 Bitcoin. So according to these charts, I mean, you could basically bank on 125K Bitcoin. Obviously that doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to happen, but that's what all these charts are indicating. Logarithmic growth curve, again, it's just another tool that we can use to measure toppiness, and you can see that we're smack dab in the middle. We've got room to grow, and that high for this one is actually in that 140 to 150K for the high. That will tell us when we're overheated or it's a good time to sell. So these are the indicators and charts I'm going to use. Literally all you got to do is go to lookintobitcoin.com, click on Bitcoin charts. If you go to lookintobitcoin.com, this is the opening page. Just click on go to charts on Bitcoin charts, and it'll give you a slew of these charts that you can use. There's a couple more on-chain charts that are good to use. The HODL wave, I don't really use that one. Let's see, what one was that I used? The MVRV Z score. Again, just like the Puel multiple, whenever this red line gets into this red box up here, it's always been a good time to sell. And as you can see, we are way low. I mean, we've got tons of room to grow before we get into this upper band. That's going to be telling us when it's a sell signal. So literally, guys, like, these are just free tools that you can use. You don't have to be tech savvy. You don't have to be, you know, some crazy chartist. All you really need to do is understand how to read this chart. Once it gets to that red line or somewhere close to it, maybe it's a good time to sell. I mean, that's what I'm going to be doing. So, looking at this beautiful cup and handle that we talked about in the last video, we broke out of it perfectly. We flagged once we broke out of it. Once we got up here, you know, I followed some really good traders. I think Nunya Biz was saying, you know, what if we get a correction back down to here? And I was like, man, I just don't see a 15+% pullback after breaking out of this massive cup and handle consolidation reversal pattern. Like, I don't see that big of a correction, and we haven't seen a 15% correction yet. We saw a 14% correction, and we're currently breaking out of it. I think the target for this cup and handle, let's see, let's call this the top. Let's get conservative with it here. So 75% would take us to about 75K. 76K is the target for the cup and handle. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to top out there. It just means that, like, people that trade the cup and handle patterns from this breakout, they're anticipating a 75% move on the trade. So that's where I would expect some people to start taking profits on that trade, on the people that are taking that trade, is around that 75K. And then maybe we'll get that pullback and test the all-time high. Honestly, the more I look at this, the more I'm thinking it's just like the last time we broke out of all-time high. If we scroll out a little bit, so this is the top of the previous cycle in 2017. Okay, that's our top, right? That red line. If we look at price action, what did we do before we broke out? We consolidated right below the all-time high, right? That's the old all-time high. We consolidated, had like this triangle, ascending triangle type pattern, right? Kept finding higher lows and then eventually just sprungboard past it. I'm getting the same vibes here, right? Consolidation right below it, and then boom, just spike above it. Like, I think this shit's just gonna keep going parabolic here, and we're gonna see like a major run like this from this breakout. So theoretically, if we let's see, theoretically we are right here. These are the same spots, right? How are these not the same? We just broke out. I think we're going to go parabolic, guys. I mean, last time we broke out of all-time high, it rose 230%. If we did 230% from breaking out of this all-time high, it would take us to $215,000 per Bitcoin. Now, the last quarters of bull runs are the parabolic phase, where you get, I mean, price action like this, like it's damn near straight up and down. Like, this is the 3-day chart. So each candle represents 3 days of price action. But I mean, once it broke out, it literally was just like we had this little consolidation pattern, spike up, consolidation pattern, spike up, consolidation pattern, and then we finally rolled over. I think we're going to see something similar. I think we're going to get this parabolic movement shoot up to like 80, 75K maybe, 80K, consolidate a little bit, keep going up until we get to that 150, 200K, and then that's probably when we're going to sell off. You know, timing that is going to be the most difficult part, in my opinion, but I think if we understand the parabola, like if we go back to the previous bull cycle, you know, if we're kind of breaking out of a second consolidation, or the first consolidation after breaking out all-time high, I mean, look at how up and down price went after that. Like, if we're going to get this type of parabolic advancement, if we look at the weekly chart where each candle represents a week of price action, look at from this consolidation, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 candles, 4 weeks. It went from 7K to 20K in 4 weeks. In 4 weeks. That's a plus 200% run in 4 weeks. So maybe we're being a little conservative about this 200K Bitcoin price. I mean, you don't want to wish and hope and pray for that, but like I'm just saying, it's totally possible that we get a parabolic advancement that moves so fast that in 3 to 4 weeks time period we see a 200% parabolic advance. Like, you just have to be ready. Like, and how am I going about making sure that I don't miss out on that? Scaling out of my positions. So like, I've got targets set for a lot of my altcoins where, you know, once it gets to a certain point, I'm going to be looking at looking at Bitcoin charts, right? I'm going to be looking at these to try and tell me when we're toppy. But also, I'm going to be scaling out of my position, so I won't be selling all of my bag once we get to a certain level. I'll sell some of it, maybe like a quarter, or maybe a fifth of it, or a sixth, or maybe even smaller than that. And then I'm going to wait, see what price does. If I feel like it's going to, and then if it goes higher, I sell a little bit more. If it goes higher, I sell a little bit more. If it goes like parabolic to where we see like a 200% in 3 weeks, I'm going to be selling more than half. You know what I mean? Like, if we get that parabolic advance where we're pushing 25-30% every week, I mean, you know, that compounds in a month, then that's when you want to be selling heavy. But if we're just gonna keep slowly grinding up, I feel like that's where you just, you know, you take some profits but you don't sell the bag. Like, if we see that parabolic advance where we move 200% in 3 weeks, you sell the majority of that bag. And I think we're approaching that time period where things are going to move quick. You got to have a plan ready. You got to know where you're going to sell it. You got to have a backup exchange for when you want to sell it, because chances are things are going to be so crazy. Exchanges are going to be going down. Coinbase isn't going to work. FTX, we'll see. You know, Binance, we'll see. KuCoin, we'll see. So make sure you have decentralized exchanges. You've got private wallets that you can move stuff to. Make sure that your shit's spread out so it's not all on one centralized exchange or something. So if that exchange goes down, you're SOL and you can't sell your bag. Like, those are the things that I'm starting to think about as we approach the top of this cycle. Because, look, guys, price doesn't just go up this fast, this quickly. I mean, there's a lot of positive narratives. There's a lot of Bitcoin is the new gold, and like, I honestly believe that, but like, price is still getting way ahead of where its fair value is at. It gets ahead of that, and you have to realize that it's going to correct. We're gonna have a bear market, and we just need to be ready for it. I did some analysis. I don't know if you guys follow Bob Lucas on Twitter. He's got a paid group. He's one of the paid groups that I would actually join. The dude's a baller. He's an older gentleman, I think he's an Englishman who, you know, he shares his trade setups and what he's looking at, and he does really great analysis. But he talks about these 60-day cycles with Bitcoin, and you know, I started looking into, you know, peaks and troughs, and started to see if I could identify some 60-day cycles in Bitcoin, and I started to see one. You know, I started measuring 60-day periods on the chart, and I noticed that this whole fractal down here, this whole bottoming fractal for Bitcoin when we were around 30K, it's a 60-day period, literally from the top, that part that the day that we bottomed to the day that we bounced is 60 days, and it's around the 20th or the 21st of every other month, starting in July or May, July, September. And I started to notice these patterns where it does seem like we peak or trough around these 60-day periods. So I started incorporating the 60-day period around these two levels as the anchor, and started to see, you know, once I saw this top, I was like, okay, it wasn't exactly the top, but it was damn close. I mean, it was within a week or so, or 2 weeks. And then up here was literally the top of this consolidation. And if we go another 60-day cycle out, that puts us at December 20th or 21st, which I think is super interesting, because right around that same time period, Ethereum is supposed to have a CME futures contract go live, I believe. And if you guys remember back to the 2017 cycle, the CME futures contract for Bitcoin opened and marked the top for Bitcoin, and that 4-year cycle, we had a bear market, a 2-year bear market after that. So I think that's kind of scary to me, that a CME futures contract for Ethereum is going to be off right around that 60-day cycle period for Bitcoin. And my target is somewhere around that 85, 90K. And the only way that I got to that price point was this trend line right here. You know, it's just kind of a generic trend line that I see could be potential. These numbers that I have on here are based on Elliott Wave. I thought maybe we would consolidate a little more down here. We actually didn't. We sprung up, and we're testing these all-time highs right now as support. So just kind of a rough sketch based on Elliott Wave, based on this trend line, based on 60-day cycles that I thought could be interesting to some of you guys. And then I was like, you know what, maybe we don't see, you know, Elliott Wave shit. Maybe we just go parabolic and have this crazy run going into the end of the year and into Q1 next year, because it does. Like, if you pull up the weekly chart, it looks exactly like the consolidation below the previous all-time high. Consolidation below the previous all-time high. We're in price discovery. Look, guys, we're breaking above it. What a time to be alive. That's all I gotta say. I mean, seriously. Blessed to be here. I would love to hear you guys' price predictions. Like I said, look into bitcoin.com. Great tools. Hit me up on Twitter. I've got a Telegram group if you guys want to get serious. And yeah, that's all I got. I'll see you guys at 6 digits. I'll probably do a video before that. But yes, to the moon. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Alright, peace out.